Welcome to the Fiscal Physical Podcast. Join us each week as we sit down with the founder of Alchemy Wealth Management and author of Your Fiscal Physical, Ryan Nelson. Tune in to gain valuable insights and practical tips as we simplify complex financial concepts into digestible lessons. From budgeting to retirement planning, this podcast is your go-to resource for mastering financial literacy.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of the Fiscal Physical Podcast. My name is Aaron. I am here with the founder of Alchemy Wealth Management, Mr. Ryan Nelson, one of my good pals. Happens to be my financial advisor, too, and published author, all sorts of stuff. Ryan, I can keep going on, but main thing is, how are you today?
I'm doing really well. How are you doing?
I'm doing solid. I hope everyone out there listening is doing well, too. Appreciate you guys taking the time to make us part of, hopefully, your weekly routine. We love doing these here, love doing these episodes, bringing you guys some, financial topics, increasing your financial literacy, if you will. And let's get started this week. Ryan, you ready?
I'm ready.
Awesome. So today we are going to talk about the financial side of healthcare, understanding medical debt. Now, if you've been with us for a while, we've had several episodes related to debt previously, but I really thought that this was a good one to dive into a little bit deeper. We've mentioned like some debt payoff strategies. Like, if you haven't gone and checked those out, please do. I think that they're very insightful. But when I think about debt, and honestly, up until I read your book, Ryan, I didn't really think about medical debt.
Mm-hmm.
I think when people say, "Oh, I have a lot of debt," I think credit card, maybe for your mortgage, your car payment, these student loans.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't really think about medical debt. But I think it was like one of the pillars, if you will, that you kind of talked about in there. So today I'm excited for you to kind of dive in, talk about how important it is to be aware of this, be thinking about this, and kind of what medical debt is and why it's a little bit different than, say, like a credit card debt or something like that. So with that, I'll kind of take a back seat here and let you do your magic.
Yeah, I always kind of think of the big five when it comes to debt. And like
big
you
five,
said,
that's what it was. Yeah.
That'd be like mortgage, car payments, credit card debt, student loans, and then medical debt.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, the main difference between medical debt and those other four
mm-hmm.
is medical debt is not planned. Right. So if you're going to go buy a house, you're preemptively preparing to buy that house. If you're going to go buy a car, you're preemptively preparing to buy the car. If you're buying something on your credit card, even if it's sushi, like you're planning to go to sushi,
mm-hmm.
right? You have say in the decision that's being made. You decide what house you're going to buy and how expensive it is, and if you've prepared for it or not. Right? You decide if you're buying a used car or a new car. You're deciding if you're going to sushi or to Taco Bell or buying groceries. You don't always have a say when it comes to medical debt, right? So that's the biggest thing to me, is just the fact that it is not planned. So you don't wake up one day and say, I'm going to go get some medical debt today.
Right.
Yeah. So it's going to come from like an emergency or an injury or a surprise bill. Now, what's unique about that is, if you end up finding yourself in, $100,000 of credit card debt because you have overspent over the last couple of years, that's something, again, that has a root cause that you can address and you can change and you can tighten up and you can fix, and it was avoidable. This medical debt is, like I'm saying, it's different, right? So it doesn't mean that you're bad with money. You could have great insurance. You could have good savings. You could have a good job. You could be well prepared. You could be on track for your retirement plan and still end up with this medical debt, right? So it is unique, I think, in a lot of ways. The other thing that's interesting with medical debt is, man, it is confusing.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
It's delayed. It's inaccurate. You could get invoices months later from multiple different people. You get one from the hospital, one from the doctor, one from I don't even know.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
But
who are you?
You could end up getting multiple different bills. You get things from your insurance. You're like, do I have to pay this, or is this just a statement? Right. So it can be very confusing. It can be delayed. It can be inaccurate. You might get multiple bills for the same thing. So it's interesting. Whereas like when you have your mortgage or your car payment, it's clean, it's tidy. You know what you owe. Right. You know when you owe it. Whereas medical, you may leave the hospital and have zero idea how much you're going to end up paying.
Sure.
Like you just don't know, is this what's being covered by insurance? What's not? Like, so it's just far more, I think, confusing and convoluted than the other four elements of the big five when it comes to debts.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. I think the enigma that is like medical debt or like the bills you get from the hospital, I think are so like annoying, but they're also like, what are we doing here? Like, oh wait, you're an independent contractor, but the other person actually is employed by the like, who am I paying like, with this kind of thing? So yeah, it can be quite overwhelming when you start getting those from multiple sources, and sometimes those numbers are have 5 figures, 6 figures in them, and then it gets like, whoa, all right, what am I doing here?
Yeah, it really can be crazy. So if you get medical debt, before you pay any of it, right? There's probably some best practices to kind of slow down, review the bills. There are known to be errors in these bills, so make sure that it's correct. Try to get a grasp of understanding what you're being billed. Did it go through insurance? Should it have gone through insurance? Right? Try to get a grasp of all of that stuff. Try to get itemized bills. Again, talk to your insurance, understand what insurance should be covering, what they are covering. So kind of, I think first step would just be take a step back, try to wrap your hands or your head around what the heck is happening, what is actually owed, who is it owed to. Again, like we just said, it's easier said than done probably, but either way, that'd be the first step. And the other thing would be is to remember, we've talked about this on a few episodes, but a lot of these medical providers are willing to negotiate, which is maybe wild. Interesting, right? Yeah. So, there's not a lot of times, maybe with some of this other debt where it's just up for negotiation. And so what's interesting, you get this medical debt, don't be afraid to call the providers and ask them for discounts or payment plans or financial assistance or hardship or right, depending on your situation. Just ask the questions and see what tools or resources they have to help make this a little easier on you. And you might be surprised just by a simple phone call. You might be surprised what discounts they can apply or what things they can remove.
Ask.
Yeah, exactly. So then you'd also want to maybe avoid for some people, a quick solution is they get medical debt and they go pay it off with a credit card. So they say, oh my goodness, I'm in over my head. This is confusing, convoluted. They pay it off with a credit card. And that can be a mistake for some people because maybe their credit card is paying them 20 or is charging them 20+% interest. And maybe the medical institution was paying them something very little or even nothing for a period of time. Or maybe they could have talked, like we just said, and negotiated with that medical institution to maybe negotiate a 0% interest or give them a payment plan. So again, before you pay this off with a credit card and transfer the debt from maybe something at low interest to something high interest, have those conversations with the medical company or medical provider to see if there's any options sort of to work with you.
Yeah, no, and like we mentioned a couple of, definitely call and ask. Like I have a personal example. My wife went to a hospital a while ago, and she was right in between insurances. So it was like a weird like time, like, and so it was weird, and so like nobody really knew what to do. We got it all figured out and everything, but she had like $1,000 in medical debt that she had to pay, and we were going through our finances, and we're like, oh shoot, do we pay this off? And she's like, well, I was like, well, let's give them a call, see what they'll say, and like it was wild. They were just like, yeah, okay, we'll set you up on a payment plan where you pay like you could minimum's $25 a month, but no interest. Yeah, and we were like, what? Because we were like thinking, do we pay this off with a credit card? Is this going to go to collections? What's this going to happen? And the person on the phone was just like $25 a month, like no, and you could pay it off early, no penalty fees. And I asked the person, like we were on speakerphone, I was like, how is that like profitable? They're like, if you guys are actually going to pay this debt, like that's a win,
right?
I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, and they gave like some examples, but like, I think it's a really important thing of like, cool, when you're finalizing or prioritizing what debts to pay off, like definitely see like, cause a lot of times you can get those for quite a bit lower than say a 20% credit card or a car loan or something like that too. So it was quite eye opening when that kind of happened.
Yeah. They seem to be known for oftentimes having 0% interest. Like you said, they just want to get paid.
Right, yeah.
So oftentimes they'll have like 0% interest or really flexible payment plans. Another thing is medical debt impacts your credit differently than credit card debt.
Oh, okay.
So if you leave it as medical debt, it's going to reflect on your credit score differently than if you transfer it over to credit card debt. So something to think about as well. Also, for whatever reason, collections agencies for medical debt are often more able to negotiate as well, similar to the medical institutions originally. But so there's, again, it just seems that medical debt seems to be more flexible in general.
Right.
So just take advantage of that flexibility, I guess. If there's one thing you take away from this, understand that this was a debt that you can't usually be planned for. But it's also probably the most flexible. Yeah. So the issue is when people just ignore it.
Right.
Yeah. So it's this big number. It's scary. They just kind of, what's it? Is it ostriches that stick their head in the sand?
Yeah, exactly.
So you just pull like an ostrich, stick their head in sand. Like, you don't want to just ignore this. Like, this is typically going to be flexible. Work with the institutions, and you might be shocked or surprised.
Yeah, exactly. With those kind of, and I think that I do want to call out because we are a global podcast. There's people listening in multiple different countries. Like, you might just be like, "What do you mean medical debt?"
Yeah.
Like, that could be like a question that people might be asking somewhere wherever they're listening. So it might be more specific to the United States, but it depends on where you're at there. But I was just thinking about that for our hundreds of thousands of listeners all over the globe of like, hey, like, what do you mean you have to pay for these things? Yep. So that's an interesting kind of piece to take with a grain of salt when you kind of take a step back on it.
Exactly. Yep. And then the other thing to think about in like almost so I've said that you can't prepare for, like, oftentimes you're not going out and saying, hey, I'm going to go get some medical debt today, right? The flip side of that coin is I didn't wake up today saying I'm going to go get medical debt, but what I did do is I've preemptively planned and created an emergency savings account so that I know that I don't know when I'm going to get medical debt, but there's might be, I think there's going to be some point in time in my life where some unexpected event's going to happen that I'm going to be on the hook for. And so by creating this emergency savings, it can allow me to weather some of these storms. So now if tomorrow I have a big medical debt, an event that creates medical debt, now I have emergency savings. That's going to help me weather this, figure this out. So like, emergency savings isn't just for like a job loss or something like that. It helps weather some of these storms as well. So even though you're not planning necessarily for a specific medical debt,
sure,
you can plan for the unknown, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So definitely having a robust, intact emergency savings can help mitigate a lot of the things we talked about throughout this process. Yep. But I think that's cool. Medical debt in a nutshell, I think.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And once again, like, if you guys haven't listened to some of these other podcasts we've had episodes, please go back and check them out. I can't remember the numbers of them, but if we also talked about a health savings account previously too, which is a good way to prepare for these certain things. There's a lot of different topics we've covered that can kind of, if you're navigating those waters, obviously probably check with, like, your situation's going to be personal, check with the proper channels, but at least you can have some resources and where you can kind of get started with it, at least to kind of determine what it is, what it isn't. And when you're making those decisions, hopefully you can reflect back on that. But awesome, Ryan. Appreciate it, man. And we'll go ahead and take a quick pause here, and we'll be back on the other side of this. Everybody hang tight.
And now, to put the personal in personal finance.
Welcome back, everybody, to this side of the Fiscal Physical podcast. Still here with Mr. Ryan Nelson. And Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, you're a pet lover.
Oh, like, yeah, absolutely.
You grew up with cats, dogs. Like, I don't know if you had any other. I don't know if you were a guinea pig guy or if you guys had any
I think
any
those
other
are the only
pets.
mammals. We had some fish.
Oh, nice.
Cats, dogs, fish.
Nice. Love a good fish, a nice aquarium.
Oh, yeah.
It's awesome.
Some lizards in there, turtles.
Oh, cool.
Oh, yeah. Not lizards. Newts, I think they're called. Yeah.
Sure. But my question today, and I'm curious, if you could own any exotic animal as a pet safely, what would it be and why?
Yeah, I would own a honey badger.
Yeah?
God, those things, I think they're so cute. Have you ever seen a honey badger jaunting, like walking / running? They're like they kind of like skip. Yeah, they're like they're so cute. I think, and then their faces, they kind of look like little dogs. Like, yeah. I just think, and they're just funny animals. I think. But I love watching videos on honey badgers. So yeah, I would say a honey badger is my answer.
Dude, you could have given me 100 guesses. I don't think I would have guessed you would have picked a honey badger. But they're also just like fearless too. Like,
yeah. Oh, dude, I saw this video of a honey badger just probably this week. I get lots of honey badger videos, but these like I don't know, wild dogs, whatever. Were like this pack of like 8 wild dogs got around this honey badger and were like lifting it, pulling it. One had its leg, one had its head. They're like ripping it apart, and it just like squirms out of it and just like takes off. Like they're so tough.
Yeah,
their skin or something. I don't know. They're like impenetrable.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Like. Right.
That's a good one, man. I mean, I think for myself, like if turning the question back on me here, I like pets. They're a lot of work, obviously, but like, I mean, if you could have like a lion or a tiger, and you could like safely own something like that, like now, not that I would say I would, but if I could, I might look into that. Like, how cool would it be to be like, oh, let's go feed the tiger tonight. Like, be like, it'd also be like pretty like scary too, because you're like, what if this goes wrong? Or if you ever see the movie like The Hangover, like there's like the Mike Tyson's tiger that they have to run into. But
exactly.
I think one of those big cats, even like a cheetah or a jaguar or something like that, have like a nice habitat for it. I think beautiful. would be awesome. And I'm a big cat guy just in general too. So I think something along those lines, it would be probably my go-to there.
Yeah, a friend for Reggie.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, a friend that Reggie, my cat, could bully.
Yeah.
With no claws, like
right.
It's crazy. But anyway, I'm gonna have to watch some honey badger videos after this. I went through a big craze of that like a while ago.
Of honey badgers?
Yeah, I was actually pretty late to
everybody has a honey badger face.
Yeah, they do, and I was like pretty late to. I like people started saying like honey badger sayings and such, and I was like, I don't know what that means. I was like a year late to the party, and then I was like, oh, these are pretty cool videos. Like I watch it, like they just like attack like poisonous snakes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Like,
they're so fast.
They'll just like, if they get like bitten by one, like their antibodies like just can take care of the poison really quickly.
Yeah,
but they have to like fall asleep to do it. So it's like this weird kind of they're crazy animals.
Yeah, they really are. Yeah, I guess they're badgers. I don't even know what they are.
I mean, I don't know where the honey piece of it comes, but
they love honey.
They love. Is that where?
Yeah. You should watch them eating honey.
They're just going wild for honey.
Yeah, that's when I feel like that's when they're at their most vulnerable. When they get some honey, they just black out.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it, Ron. I'd love to hear from our various group texts we're in, and all our listeners out there. What would be your go-to exotic animal if you could own it as a pet safely, legally, naturally? So let us know. Let us know what you guys think. And I think that's all we got for today, Ryan. So I'll let you wrap us up.
As always, stay the course.
Thank you for joining us for the Fiscal Physical Podcast. Until next time, happy listening. And as always, stay the course. If you have a question or topic suggestions, please email us at podcast@alchemywealth.com. If you enjoyed today's discussion, subscribe to the podcast to ensure you never miss an episode. And consider leaving us a rating and review on your favorite platform. This helps other listeners like you find the show. For more resources, you can visit Alchemy Wealth Management's website at www.alchemywealth.com or find your Fiscal Physical, the book, on Amazon. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention that personal finance is just that, personal. Please don't take anything we say as advice. The preceding content is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It's not an offer or a solicitation, nor should it be construed or relied upon for tax, legal, or investment advice. It doesn't consider your personal financial situation or objectives and may not be suitable for you.